Cybercrime and cybersecurity are two sides of the same coin. Cybercrime and cybersecurity are two sides of the same coin. And each time you are trying to operationalize cybersecurity, you're trying to find ways to protect everyone, the business, the community, or data that has become the oil of business. You're trying to protect it from any effect or fight. But you're trying to do that out of a regimented structure that you can see on that screen. That crime starts from groups to gangs, straight away to a consortium, and from less skilled to sophisticated skills, with all facets and markets. If it is in money laundering, you start having the blue screen, black screen, green screen, and you start having the guys that generate money from the server in the bank. So it's so regimented and structured that when you want to fight it, you've got to get a zero tolerance methodology. Yes? And the comment that I want to say, we spend a lot of today talking about cybersecurity and protection. The slide there, what I'm trying to explain there is that the issues around AI, automation, starts from you moving from a manual process, going straight up to digitalization, then you automate. Unless your processes have been automated, it will be very difficult for you to start talking to us about AI, harvesting data and using it. In Zimbabwe, if you go into a bank, they ask you to sign a deposit slip, and then they stamp it, and then they have a digital department, digital strategy, and electronic banking division. But at the same time, they are still manual. So that whole process, you need to be compliant. And that process of operationalizing it is taking policy and now making it practical. It's an area that needs attention. And I just want to mention something when I'm still there. We've got a very robust educational system in Zimbabwe, which I think it needs now to turn around. We get our graduates coming from university. When you attach them, you have to train them to start doing practical things. This is how you hack a phone. This is how you hack an organization. This is how you set up an XDR. This is how you configure software. This is how you configure a router. But they have a degree. So our educational system and policymakers need to change. I know Education 5.0 has included that, to make sure that when we churn out a graduate from a university, they go straight and operationalize. Right? Let's move. Let's move the slide. And that slide is just showing the chambers that are obviously involved and are key in a digital economy, where you get a lot of attention to health, to mining, and the other industries listed there. Let's move on. I think I've got 2 more slides. Let's move on. We'll leave that one with some statistics. And I just want to mention the challenges that you find in the
owning your cards or your SIM card and taking over the account. That is actually been normalized. And I think it's an issue of awareness in organization from the board. Maybe the awareness is also how to check it. People do a different time. Maybe the check program is now starting to see the awareness.
Victor, from a private sector perspective, what kind of crimes did you see most often?
Almost similar trends introduced by Dr. Kia. Noticed a lot of WhatsApp phishing, deepfakes, and general phishing, where attackers target specific people or technologies to get private information and maybe take over user accounts on social media platforms.
Thank you, Victor. Engineer, can you please give us your 5-minute presentation?
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Afternoon. Now I don't even have confidence anymore. All right, so yeah, I'm also talking along the same lines, but I'm coming from academia. And as an academic, there are areas that are very much close to my heart. I'm a person who has really heard a lot of people talking about how there's that mismatch between the skills that our students are coming out of the university with and what the industry actually requires industry relevant skills. So it's something that I feel like it's really caused a lot of, lack of cooperation, lack of collaboration between the industry and universities. And that's an area that we wish to address. But today I'm mostly interested in navigating the space of innovation and technology in line with cybersecurity. Why? Because I look at technology and I realize that most people look at it in silos. When we are talking AI, usually we are talking about just AI. When we talk of blockchain, it's about blockchain. When we talk of IoT, it's IoT. But really, when we look at the cybersecurity landscape, we are looking at a point where when these technologies converge, we have a case of new threats or risks that are not there when we just consider technology in a silo. So that is the part that is really of interest to me. I hope, okay, something was not moving there. I'm not going to talk about artificial intelligence and cybersecurity because a lot of speakers before me have spoken about this, but maybe just one thing to mention is once I posted on my LinkedIn, in fact, a video that I generated with AI. It was a VO3 generated video, it coming from a picture of me and then singing along to CeCe Winans' Goodness of God song. Most people believed that I can really sing. I actually got good comments from a lot of people to really, show how AI is actually being misused by cyber criminals in a way that is very convincing. But going further with this now, if we look at quantum computing, for instance, we are now looking at a new dimension in terms of cyber threats, cyber attacks, because this is going beyond the classical computing that we've been used to before. And because of that, it's challenging even the cryptographic systems that we have been experiencing. I know our banking systems, our healthcare systems, they are very much based upon an encryption system that is based on RSA, for instance, AES, for instance. All of these are dependent upon strong keys which are coming from random number generation, which we are calling pseudo random number generation. It's pseudo because it's not real randomization. But when we look at now quantum computing because it's going beyond the binary structure of information representation to a case where a qubit, which is the minimum, more like the bit in the quantum space, could actually assume, different states at the same time, creating more computational capabilities than before. So because of this, we have a challenge where the current cryptographic systems will actually be rendered useless, actually. So in the future, our banking systems, our medical healthcare records are going to be under threat because of this. I remember somewhere where it was written, there's going to be more like our Y2K. I would say Y2Q. So Q coming from quantum computing. So there will be a day when everything just goes haywire. That is the day that, even those systems that we have thought were really very strong are going to be completely destroyed. And that will be a serious challenge to us. So now what am I really talking about? I'm talking about a case where systems like even our IoT systems, which we are seeing nowadays proliferating, these systems can actually be, compromised by even compromising a simple thing like a thermostat. A thermostat, I think for most people, it's like the basic thing. But the thing is, you can actually have a fish pond being compromised and then getting into a war system because it is connected to some database. So because of that, we have to now be more proactive in terms of how we capacitate our students, how we capacitate our workforce with cybersecurity skills. Anyway, I will talk about the other things later when I'm seated.
Thank you very much. usually you find that when we're talking to academics, there's usually a disconnect saying, they don't know what it's really like practically, right? And we're speaking theoretically. So I've got a question for you. How can local corporates benefit from having in-house or partnered research and development departments, especially around cybersecurity and innovation? This is something that we see with big tech companies where they actually have R&D departments. Do you think this is working in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, that's more
So very much what is tried and tested. I can draw your attention to research institutions like our OpenAI, for instance. It just started with maybe drawing a master's PhD scholars to do research in AI. But today, OpenAI is like a big tech giant, which is now worth billions of dollars. So you can actually see how R&D can actually, impact on an organization. But however, I still believe that academia and industry partnership is crucial because from when I happened in Zimbabwe, where we did have many organizations, having R&D units, to really start from zero to get to that point where we can begin to really use success stories might be difficult. So collaborating now will bring in the meeting now. When we are saying that academia is very good at research, the industry usually has test beds, it has I would say financial resources, I would say black boxes also where people could test some of these technologies. So it would be a very good thing if you could have academia and industry mainly actually collaborating, and the other thing is already collaboration that happening when we have our students orientation going to industry. So in such a case, we can actually have that research and development starting from just an access, but what they need to do is take it further. And then when we are actually just dumping our students to the industry, but we are then going to really interrogate and see points of collaboration where we could literally what the students are doing over there and what we are researching as faculty in the university and get some PPPs.
Thank you, Engineer. Dr. Rukanda, on R&D and emerging technologies, from your governance and audit perspective, how can Zimbabwe ensure that our regulatory frameworks actually evolve fast enough to keep up with these kind of technologies?
I think the key aspect is to get continual audit structure. I think government, ICT government or ICT corporate government to take center stage. And another aspect that I'd like to add we should be not doing this issue where universities are now starting to say students can go on training. And many organizations are not able or prepared to absorb them. And the students continue to wonder during that period. And the university has when they get to say, if you don't get assessment, you will repeat. So there is this code there on that structure. So that there is need to align that and it's part of the government structure that will come out and get reported in the reports. So there is need for the ministry and the private sector and the educational sector to sit down and have a clear program so that when students are very qualitative, they don't have to look for themselves. They are deploying and that is assessed, and then when they finish and get deployed in the industry communities, their output is also measured as they continue to receive emerging technologies like AI, etc.
I'd like to invite any questions from the audience or comments on R&D. Yes, you can go ahead. Please, can we have a mic for the lady in there?
What are we doing in terms of the policy making and IT, especially on the concept of computing? Protecting that sector, that's number one. Number two, and what facilities do you have in terms of awareness? So people are aware of how
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So, for starters, Arupe now is a cybersecurity and forensics program. We started last year. I think we have our 22nd year this year. Yeah, so the thing now is, what I'm trying to say is, we have not really projected into the future in terms of the digital skills. So where we are at currently is, Arupe is actually just launching its innovation hub in 2 weeks' time. So all along what we've been doing was to set up, the policies, setting up the foundation to enable that. So in terms of quantum computing, this is possibly, I would say, at the moment, if I'm approaching it hypothetically, it's more like it's something that will come in the future. But let's look at how Gen AI has suddenly just overtaken this environment. Before we knew it, we thought maybe it was coming in the future. We're talking about generative adversarial networks a few years back, not really understanding what they could do, but now it has gone even further. So at the moment, what we're trying to do is to get the information out to people, raising awareness to say, okay, while we want to focus on research and development, can we also look into these technologies, emerging technologies that will impact on our environment in the future, which we don't really know about yet with certainty. But at least let us not just be focused on the same kind of research that we've been doing before, but can we now make those baby steps towards even researching into those spaces? Because now we have resources at our disposal because of open source technologies, the open data initiatives that people are talking about. So we could try to do a bit of research along those lines. So mainly we are taking it from an information perspective at the moment. We are not just capacitated. Even I don't know if anyone has a quantum computer at their workplace, even in this room. I think it's something that they are still working towards, and they will come. I know IBM is already doing a lot of work in that space, but we need to be proactive, we need to be prepared before it actually comes. That's why the 2Q I was talking about.
Thank you, Engineer Kadibu. Our next presentation is from Victor Jishi.
Okay, afternoon everyone. I will try not to speak too much. Mine is a very short one, where we just want to really emphasize or cement practically in Zimbabwe. We've been talking a lot around technology, infrastructure, security, AI, etc. But when it comes back home, what do we do? What limitations do we have? What can we practically do when we walk out of this room today? What should stick in our minds? What should we implement? I think that's what I'll just focus on quickly. So for me, technology is the foundation, is the infrastructure, yes, it's the base, but security is the glue that holds all the digital economy aspects together. My slides there, they're just mentioning a few items that we have witnessed in Zimbabwe. We have seen the growing ICT adoption, expansion in digital payments. I think even in the government sector, we have seen e-passports. In some countries, it's now, everyone now has a digital ID. That kind of a trend shows us that we need to really secure our infrastructure in Zimbabwe. The national vision and policy frameworks also are indicating that that's where we are going, that's the direction that we are taking. But why do we need to secure this digital economy? Why is it important to secure the digital economy? So if you look at my slide there, I don't know what's happening. Okay, maybe to come back. But
it's important for us to support compliance and governance through a secure digital economy in Zimbabwe. One thing that I will talk much on is it's important because it builds trust in digital platforms. If you look at other countries or maybe foreign investors, for them to bring money into Zimbabwe, these kind of aspects are looked at. Is it secure to put in money in Zimbabwe where there is no secure infrastructure or there are gaps in ABC? So we actually need to find ways to build trust. Okay. The next slide there should show us the challenges that we have as Zimbabwe. The areas where we have challenges like connectivity, like data hosting. We do not have the data centers that we want in Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, I hear another fellow Zimbabwean is actually building data centers in South Africa and in Kenya as we speak. But in Zimbabwe, we have a lot of limitations, probably power or other issues, connectivity maybe, but we need to address such so that we control where data sits and how we manipulate it local here. And that statement to the left is saying, a secure digital economy is not built by technology alone, but it's powered by people and innovation. In a lot of times, people always say the problem is between the desk and the computer. So if you're not careful and if we do not innovate, we do not learn or develop ourselves, we're going to be found wanting. And key takeouts there is we need definitely to invest in people and skills. Education, like she mentioned earlier. She also mentioned a very good aspect around innovation hubs. I see a lot of them coming up in Zimbabwe, but the support around them, I think, is still lacking. We can actually have practical examples where we have a national challenge that we have. Give it to Arupe. Let the Innovation Hub design a solution that is a national solution, not just addresses one particular aspect or company within the economy. I think that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
I've got a question for the audience. Where would you want the first data center for Zimbabwe built? What are our options? Anyone? If we don't even know where we want to build the data centers, yes, sure, you can go ahead. Okay, please use the mic.
Okay. Why is don't have buildings that will bounce back the victims. So somewhere where we don't have a lot of buildings. That's number one. Number two, somewhere where we have places where we have centers. So somewhere like not all buildings. So if they were to collaborate using the innovation hub to come up with, I think we had this conversation here in the afternoon. Where we were talking about like what they have in Japan. Why is it not working together? It's because we're working in silos. We have Tawa that is secretary for economics. The problem is we're working in silos and not in partnership. So I think strategy has to be academia works together. We have all these innovation hubs. We're working in silos. So the success plan of the data center is about collaboration. That's number one. Number two, promoting innovators through the startup hubs. I think we had a nice startup products in I think about 6 months ago. And the reason why it was a success is because we collaborated and worked together. So it's indicated the older with experience and ask the innovators who are going to come up together with a plan, strategic plan. Then the data centers will work. And be inclusive of diaspora, because both local and diaspora have the skill set and the money. We need to collaborate.
Just one more. You can go ahead.
This might be controversial, but I'll say Victoria Falls. Data centers consume of large energy and require quite a lot of cooling. So I think also pursuing it in quite well in this area will be central for foreign tourists to also visit and enjoy what's on it, but also with the opportunity to put in solar plants to run with and have a vehicle quality.
Thank you. So, Victor, the Honourable Minister mentioned earlier that the private sector needs to invest in the infrastructure that's needed for technology. According to you, what resources can be leveraged towards the establishment of
power? Zimbabwe, we have a lot of sun and green energy. So why can't we use that to our advantage? Power data centers. We also have human capital and skills in Zimbabwe. Strictly speaking, some economies are actually being powered by Zimbabwe energy through people who move out of Zimbabwe. I think we actually have a very good base. Unfortunately, they didn't go out, maybe trade more and look more intelligent, but we still Zimbabweans. We also have the land in Zimbabwe. In some countries, land is very limited. You have all those options mentioned because there is available land there. I think the support from policymakers, the government, is also very visible in Zimbabwe. So why can't we use that to our advantage? And like also what she mentioned, what she said about silence. Let's break those barriers. Collaboration between private and public sector needs to be enabled so that we win on this one.
Thank you, Victor. So we're now at the end of our panel. Just 2 sentences from each panelist to close, perhaps to give advice to our audience on how, as individuals or to organizations or to the government, how they could build, help build local capacity. We can start with Victor.
Okay. One thing that quickly comes to mind is, I had said, being mentioned earlier, incident response team. For me, I've seen it practically, and I think there is great opportunity to improve let's have a Zoom set where we have academia, where we have the CISOs or IT system managers of different companies, where we have portraits in there. And actually, let's have simulations done, just like what we do with fire drills. In an organization, you know when there's a fire, you use this exit. In Zimbabwe, if all the banks are hit, RBZ and portals are hit, what do we do?
Thank you, Victor. Dr. Kanda.
So the first one is that this is all of data centers, because the data that we are using, AI is local data. We have very limited data harvesting taking place in this part of the world. So if we have our own data centers, we have to collect our own data and do analysis about our area with our own data, which is applicable to us. So that's very important. And the second point I'd like to mention is that I think it's very important for the government and the ministry to have a clear program of attachment on ICT and cybersecurity students so that they do not wander around. And also the Ministry of ICT should be assisting the moment to certify all the ICT people that practice. I noticed in Zimbabwe, a lot of banks are now with the ICT department. None of them are for business. And that requires a lot of PCI DSS certification, payment card certification, but they are just deployed those frameworks without being tested or getting that certification. It's putting financial sensitive data at risk. Some people do need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. For me, I would say it's research and innovation. research and development. We need research institutions where we can have different universities collaborating as well. We have universities collaborating with industry. We need such places, and I urge our industry to think about setting up labs within the universities. We need that. This led to actually benefits both the universities as well as the industry as well. I've seen a good example of the Metro company actually built a lab at the university where it's my master's. And they will actually have mechanical engineering students coming in to do their projects within that lab. So it means we address new challenges rather than just contracting, or confusing other ideas or problems behind our desks. We want to resolve the real problem that we are facing in Zimbabwe, and we don't do any just copy and paste from what others have done, but contextualize everything to our own local environment.
Thank you all for joining us. I think we've all learned that building capacity is not just about technology, but it's about partnerships and also investing in our people. Thank you. Over to you, Darren.
Thank you very much. It's been a long day of education. Do you also feel like there's a lot of things going on in the head and some things to unpack? It's been a great day where we discussed a lot, learned a lot, and I want to say thank you very much to the Ministry of ICT, Posting and Career Services. Allow me to take this moment to also make sure that we thank our sponsors. Thank you to Econet, our platinum sponsor, Net1, our gold sponsor, Potbrand, our silver sponsor, who also assisted us with giveaways. Thank you very much as well to Cyber and Civ for the cyber presentation, and also our silver sponsor and the giveaways that they were able to do. And I also thank you to Huawei as well for the giveaways, our silver sponsor, NASA, our silver sponsor, as well as Taiwan, PFA, Nutrasystems. By the way, Nutrasystems were the sponsor of that final panel discussion. So once again, thank you very much for your generous support. Hosting Technologies, Africa, Liquid Intelligent Technologies, Power Communications, of course the media partner, AV Communications, through Business Times, and through this Business Times. Okay, we are done except for one last final thing, which is a vote of thanks and closing remarks. So please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to our vote of thanks the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of ICT, Dr.